Syracuse Rock Alternative 95X.
There we go. Nice hat.
There we go. Perfect.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm
All
great.
right.
I'm at my house in Los Angeles.
Very cool, man. How are things on the West Coast?
Well, you know, cautiously optimistic, as they say. When this all started 5 weeks ago, the projections were really, 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 really bad. And projections are still not great, but much less bad than they were initially for the West Coast.
Absolutely. Now, you recently, or actually it was a bit ago, put out an EP called Blood Harmony, which spawned the single you can hear on 95X called Let's Fall in Love for the Night. I actually found it a little sooner than that single. I have a specialty show on 95X, and I was banging Shelter for a while. And that one, for some reason, man, that was the one that I thought was going to be the breakthrough. Great tune. There's something about everything that you touch that seems to have, for all intents and purposes, sort of the Midas touch. You have a very distinct stamp in style for someone who is very, very young and relatively new to the scene, so to speak.
Well, I'm honored to hear you say that. It's very kind of you. I think to me, I just I'm obsessed with making music, and music is like my favorite currency. I listen to music constantly. I'm just a genuine fan of so much music that I try to only come at music as a fan. You know what I mean? Like how would I react to this if I were listening to this and I had no part in making this? Or if I'm working with an artist like Billy or Camila or Tovlo, I'm a fan of these artists. I can't wait to make something that does them justice,
Absolutely. Now you've touched on it a little bit now, because you're not only just an artist, you're a producer, you're a songwriter, which kind of covers the gamut. But each of those things is its own specific sort of skill set, and would probably, in my opinion, come with a lot of different influences. Do you have specific influences to each facet of what it is that you do in the industry? And part B to that question would be, is there somebody that kind of covers the gamut, or maybe two out of the three?
I think there are people who are sort of across the board inspirations of mine. I'm inspired by Pharrell. I think what he's been able to do as a producer and as a songwriter and as an artist and as a collaborator is just really exciting. As a songwriter, huge fan of Ben Folds. Ben Folds has had a huge, huge, huge influence on my songwriting and just sort of musical taste. As a producer, I'm a huge fan of Timbaland and Rick Rubin and Dr. Dre. I was just talking to my friend Benny about Dre, because Dre's songs, his productions all sound like they were made today. They just all sound so fresh to me. Maybe not to everybody, but to me, Dre's productions just are the freshest.
There's a timelessness to what Dre always kind of put down, whether it was his own stuff or the stuff he was producing for other people. It's
so true. It's so impressive.
Well, for me, there's artists like Run the Jewels that are bringing back a little bit more of that.
Love them.
And that new one is insane, whether it's Ooh La La, which is the official single, but also Yankee and the Brave has such a Wu-Tang vibe to it. It's great to see in 2020 that stuff like that still has an outlet.
I haven't spent enough time with it. I got to really dive in. I'm super excited.
Very cool. I think you would dig it. Now, shortly after the Grammys, where you walked away with 5 awards, you were on Jimmy Fallon, and that was one of my favorite things that I've found with you, mostly because it gave me a little insight into the fact that you like to find sounds out in the world. Like you mentioned on Fallon that part of Bury a Friend was from a drill that Billy had recorded while she was at the dentist. And the emulated hi-hat, so to speak, in Bad Guy was a crossing single that you found in Australia. Do you have anything sort of in your back pocket right now that you're trying to work with or work around, or anything that's been incredibly inspiring as of late?
I love that question. I have an answer, which is that the ceiling of my studio, this beam that I'm pointing at right now, has the pipes in my house in it. It has the water pipes that run up to the sinks and everywhere. And so when somebody turns on the shower upstairs, for a couple minutes I can, because I have like a tankless water heater, so for a couple minutes I can hear like all the water in the walls, and I have to record that at some point and put that in a song. It's such a cool sound.
Does it have a rhythm to it, or is it just sort of
It's just kind of ambient, so I'd have to make it rhythmic. Yeah.
All right. That's cool, man. Now, the COVID-19 thing obviously is a topic of conversation for everybody right now. And I view it for people like yourselves, artists, as sort of a blessing and a curse, because the blessing side of it is you've got plenty of downtime to focus and write and sit in the studio and knock some stuff out. But the downside of that is you're an artist with an amazing EP that's getting some great success out there in the world, and you're not able to tour behind it, which is kind of the curse of it. Do you view it in the same way, or are you seeing it a little more optimistically as an opportunity to sit back and do some more in-studio stuff?
I'm definitely using it to do that. I mean, I've been in my studio just grinding every day because I enjoy it, not because I feel like, oh my God, I'd better make use of my time. It's what makes me happy. But yeah, I mean, I think my kind of daily life under normal circumstances is like the two things that I do are a little bit at war with each other, like the touring side, the press side, the kind of like promotional side, if you're considering touring promotional, which it is in many ways. And then like the creative, like making an album, writing a song. They're kind of like they're always trying to get my attention. That's the way it feels. And so I am kind of like trying to calm myself down with the knowledge that I have this abundance of time to create right now. And I'm also aware that I know it's now looking like this is going to be a long one, right? We're probably not going to be back doing concerts until 2021, it looks like. But in the grand scheme of life, it's not very long. And so I'm aware that I may never get this period of time again. I may never get a period where I'm just at home working every day again. And also once it does kick back in and there's tours to go on and everything, everything's going to be double speed. People are going to be trying to catch up, So I think in that sense, I'm all right, time to just take advantage of it. Just, enjoy what I can do.
Absolutely. And load up the coffers for future use as well.
Totally. Yeah. I kind of,
while you're on the road.
I gotta, if there's an album to make, I've got to make it now. That's definitely how I feel.
Absolutely. Now, with you being sort of a little bit with a foot into each area of it, is there one that you gravitate towards most as far as what you want to be known for? Do you want to be Finneas producer, Finneas songwriter, the artist, or do you think that it's an all-encompassing thing? Because I'm seeing more and more people like John Bellion and Elenium do what you've done, which is work sort of behind the scenes and then unleash their artistic side. Was it calculated, or did Billy's success have anything to do with your timeline?
Really good question. I think as far as what I'm known for, I feel lucky to be known at all. So I think, whatever people do know me from, I'm cool. I'm glad I'm known for anything. And then, in terms of my own artistry, I've always written songs. When I first started writing songs, I wasn't maybe as aware of the world of collaboration that you can, be involved in as an adult in the music industry, of writing for other artists, writing with other artists, producing for them. I was kind of I only really knew as an 11-year-old about bands and solo artists. So I was I guess I want to be in a band, And I do love performing, and that's kind of that's the thing you really do not get as a producer co-writer for people, is you don't get to perform at all. So I kind of hacked it and get to perform with Billy, which is really fun. And then I obviously get to perform on my own now, which is also really fun.
Very cool. Now, you've mentioned some of the people that you've collaborated with, whether it's Selena Gomez or Halsey, Tovlo. Obviously, you worked hand in hand with your sister last week, who you collaborated with on Moral of the Story. So it seems like you've dipped a toe into that world pretty extensively. Do you have a bucket list or a wish list of anybody for future collaborations, or somebody that you've sort of had your eye on that you want to work with in that capacity?
My bucket list is very abstract. It's much less like my favorite artists of all time, biggest influences, because I don't always know that like I could offer them much. You know what I mean? Like if someone said, "Do you want to go work with Paul McCartney?" I'd be like, "Does he want to work with me, or is he like willing to?" You know what I mean? I'd rather just have tea with him and be like, "You've changed my life." You know what I mean? Like that to me is like more honest. So
very cool. Now, you mentioned it earlier. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like 2020 is kind of kaput as far as like live concerts.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's a scary thing, man, because I am probably old enough to be your dad and have been doing this since I was your age, but on the other side of it, not in radio. So for me to think about having almost an entire calendar year with no large gatherings of live music is kind of a daunting sort of thought to process, because it's such a big part of all of our lives.
Yeah, we were on a world tour this year. You know, we were 3 shows in. Had to pull the plug on that. That was crazy. We were going to spend the summer in Europe playing festivals, and yeah, it's tragic. And we kind of luckily have toured a lot for the last 3 years, and so we have gotten to experience a lot of great joys from touring, and I'm hopeful that we get to experience them again in a couple years, you know. But it is crazy to be like on a forced hiatus. It's pretty crazy.
It is, but by the same token, I think like we all know deep down it needs to be done.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. I'm not advocating for them to be rushed, for sure.
Right. It's a responsible thing that we all.
My dog's in the room. Hi, Peach. Your watch. Here you go.
Thank you.
My dog came to visit. Hi, Peaches. Yeah.
We're out?
No, I'm gonna hang out with her.
Okay.
This is Peaches.
Oh, she looks sweet.
She's pretty cute.
Very cool, man. Well, I know you've got a lot to get to today. You've got a lot on your plate. I just want to say thank you one last time for doing this today, taking the time to talk to myself and our listeners here. The EP is called Blood Harmony. It's available everywhere. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, sir. I'm a big fan, and I genuinely think with all the names you rattled off earlier, whether it was Dre or Rick Rubin, sooner rather than later, man, your name is going to be added to that list, and rightfully so. So congratulations on all the successes that you've encountered so far, and here's to the future for you and for Billy, my man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care, Finneas.
You too, Doug.